one of the most humiliating and shameful experiences of my life, now that I think back on it. I laughed heartily when I learned that my grandmother's caretaker had drawn the items on a grocery list because she could neither read nor write. I was 11 years old, and with my 6 or so years of primary school education, I thought I had earned the right to humiliate someone who probably never had the opportunity to enter the doors of a primary school. I was convicted. And it's something that we who have the opportunity to learn oftentimes take for granted. The fact that God allows us to have knowledge, and the fact that God allows us to learn so that we can be of service to his people and not to hold them to ransom. How do we foster in ourselves a culture of honorable learning? Learning not for ourselves or for our own achievement, or so that when I walk into your office in 20 years, there are thousands of diplomas on the wall, but learning so that you can impact the lives of people and be a testimony to them. How do we make this part of who we are? How do we avoid the trap that society is setting for us that tells us you are what you know? We do that by putting 3 batteries into our backpack. This is just my opinion of it. I could be very wrong. And those 3 batteries are respect, humility, and gratitude. Words that we hear every single day almost. They become cliche to us. Respect, humility, and gratitude. If I ask you, what is respect? What is humility? What is gratitude? You'll be able to answer me. But do we really ponder these things? And do we try to embody these traits in our own lives? So let's start with respect. What is this thing about respect? There is a notion out there that respect is a two-way street. I would like for you to reject that. I would like for you to think about respect as being something very much one way. That you respect a person simply because they are a person. And you respect that person because you are a respectful person. My grandmother, who is my hero on this planet, she passed away some years ago. She was a nurse for all of her life. And when she left the nursing profession, she left at the highest rank. So she had quite a distinguished career in nursing. And she always told me the story about the 2 types of doctors in pre-independence Trinidad. And one of those doctors was the type that lived up to what a doctor should have been at that time. Went abroad to study, knew a lot about medicine. They were the doctors. They were the respected folks. They were the ones who made decisions and got things done. They were the people that were revered in the health centers and in the hospitals. And then there was the other type of doctor who leaned on the opinion of junior staff, who wanted the advice of the nurses on duty. And she always made the distinction between these 2 types. And she told me very often that you could see who the better doctors were based on how they interacted with their staff, based on how they respected their staff and they respected their opinions, and that respect that was reciprocated for them. So I ask you, choose what kind of doctor you want to be. Will you let people speak, and will you hear them, and will you listen genuinely simply because there are people? Will you cast aside titles and positions and allow people to have a voice because they are human beings? Or will you ascribe to this thing that exists in Trinidad and Tobago about V and V and VVIPs? How very important can you be? And doesn't it mean that if you are a VVVIP, that there is a VVV unimportant person? Can you cast that aside? Can you say that I will respect you because you're a human being? I also want to talk about my grandmother's friend, Sister Williams. And I used to come home from school and I would see the 2 of them chatting. And I mean, when Sister Williams came over, it was like a whole day affair. It was like a 16-hour visit, right? We just prepared ourselves that we would not have the living room or the TV for 16 hours. They had a great time together. They laughed, they talked, they prayed. And it came as a shock to me as a teenager when I was told what Sister Williams did for a living. My grandmother, as I told you, was a respected nurse. Sister Williams gathered scraps of cloth off of the Beetham landfill and sold them in the market to people to clean their cars and their homes. And you could not tell by looking at these two friends that there was this distinction between them. And that's because they respected one another regardless of title. And the lesson that Sister Williams and my grandmother left with me was that we miss out on amazing relationships and amazing partnerships and amazing friendships because we put titles and positions and accomplishments between us and people. So that's respect. One-way street. Thank you. Humility. This is a big one, and this is one that just blows my mind every single day. To me, humility is simply this. I've come this far by God's grace, and I still have very far to go. It's just that. So very often, we have people applying to positions in the newsroom. They always ask me, how do I get into a career in media? And my response is always my experience, which has been that you get an internship and you work really, really hard. And by the end of that internship, the organization that you work for should not want to let you go, right? So that is the advice I give. But you know what comes in the way of someone getting an internship and working really, really hard? You wouldn't believe. Their own success, degrees, accomplishments. My son has a degree. Why should he work for a stipend for 3 months? Fair enough. Stay on the outside of the building and try to convince them to let you in. Humility is that thing that opens doors. You are going to need people to help you. Let me talk to you about my Aunt Joy. My Aunt Joy she worked at the Office of the Ombudsman. She was an investigator. So a lot of the work of the Office of the Ombudsman had to do with complaints from just ordinary citizens, but a lot of complaints from prisoners. Somewhere along her tenure at that office, she lost her sight. It was very, very tragic. She developed cataract and she lost her sight. She was very afraid at one point in time that she would lose her position because she had lost her sight. After all, she'd been hired as a sighted person, and now she was blind. So she was always concerned that she would lose her position because she wouldn't be able to function in the same way. Go to the prisons, talk to the prisoners, and do the job at hand. And I remember seeing one day when I went to see her after school, she was walking down the corridor of the ombudsman's office, and he had summoned her for a meeting, and she was blind. So she was using her memory of that space to guide her. And one of her junior staff members came out of the office seeing that she was walking down, and they just walked beside her so that she would know that if that shoulder moved left or that shoulder moved right, she would be guided in that direction. And the only reason that that person did that is because she had been humble. And because you need people to help you in your life. You cannot do it on your own. Be humble. So the last one, guys, is a big one. The biggest one, I would say. Gratitude. If you ask people what gratitude is, they'll probably say saying thanks. I would like to assert that gratitude is a lifestyle. Gratitude is living thanks. You may not always have the opportunity to say thank you, but your life of gratitude should express that. It should lead you every single day to believe that I am not here on my own merit. I am here because people have helped me. And for me to think that I have come where I have come to without people is not just selfish, but I believe that it is sinful. So, let's remember the 3 batteries, which are what again? Respect, humility, and gratitude. And I believe that when we combine these 3 things, and we put them into practice, and we learn honorably, that what we're really doing is loving people. Loving people with the things that we know. We are not better than them. We are not smarter than them. We are not more entitled. We do not deserve more. We just love. So I invite you to go out there, when you're finished here, wherever you are, love people. Show them your respect, show them your humility, and show them your gratitude. Thank you.